GPS interference in aviation, August 2025. 3 major hotspots, 1 spike that wasn't real, and 1 high-profile flight supposedly affected by Russian interference that made headlines. We'll take a look at what the data shows. Overall, August was a fairly steady month for interference, yet the Baltic remains one of the key hotspots, so let's take a closer look at there first. The spoofing and jamming from the Kaliningrad area continues to affect a wide region, covering much of northeastern Poland, the Baltic Sea, almost up to the Swedish coast, and reaching into Lithuania and Latvia. A second hotspot persists over Finland and Estonia, impacting especially flights arriving and departing Helsinki. Moving then further south to the eastern Mediterranean Sea, including the airspaces of southern Turkey, Cyprus, Lebanon, Israel, and Egypt, we can see an on and off pattern. Some days were remarkably quiet, with no interference detected at all. On other days, spoofing activity returned, but with varying reach. At times, it stretched across a wide area of the Mediterranean, reaching up all the way to the Turkish coast. On other days, it was concentrated mainly around traffic to and from Tel Aviv, and occasionally interference extended all the way south into the Sinai. Before we move on to the Gulf region, let's quickly jump to Southeast Asia and see what's going on in Myanmar. In the final days of August, reported spoofing events suddenly jumped from just a handful per day to over 100. At first glance, that might look like a major escalation, but when we zoom in on the GPS-wise data, we see something else. New coverage tiles appearing in the jamming layer. This indicates that a new receiver began feeding data from that area. And with improved coverage, more spoofing that was previously invisible can now be detected, which explains the sudden spike in affected aircraft. And now let's head to the Gulf region, where activity in August was fairly stable. Most of the time, spoofing centered around Bandar Abbas in southern Iran, affecting aircraft in the Iranian, Omani, and UAE airspaces, including many flights to and from Dubai. On 3 days, the 5th, 16th, and 17th of August, a second spoofing cluster appeared shortly over the Gulf itself, about halfway between Dubai and Qatar, with aircraft displaced virtually into Iran from that location. And now let's turn to that high-profile case that made international headlines, the flight carrying EU Commission President von der Leyen into Plovdiv on August the 31st. Some media outlets reported the aircraft was stuck in a holding pattern for 1 hour. And another source said GPS services at the airport were disabled, forcing the crew to switch to paper maps. But here's the problem. What does GPS interference have to do with paper maps and holding patterns? Flight Radar 24 reported the flight only took 9 minutes longer than scheduled, and Sky Data Services confirmed by using Open Sky Data that the aircraft consistently reported high position accuracy, something that would not happen in jamming. And the track looks normal, perhaps with one extra maneuver, but this is not a maneuver consistent with spoofing patterns that we have seen in other places. So, how do you make sense of this? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you want a deeper dive into what actually happens to an aircraft during jamming or spoofing, check out our dedicated detailed explainer video. It's linked right up here. That's the RFI picture for August 2025. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the September update.